Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
How do you transition from working for somebody else to being your own boss? We have an expert today. Kevin Lewis is a former executive, opened his own business, and that's what we're going to talk about today, a little bit about the businesses and that transition. Kevin, please join me up here on stage.
Hey, Red, how are you?
Exceptionally well, as always. So you started out working, and then you have quite a extensive resume in that area, a lot of good success. And then one day you decided, I mean, it may not be one day. I know some of us, it happens one day. You know, I walked into my job and they say, hey, they want to see an HR. Okay, I go down. Here's your retirement package. That was my introduction to retirement. So, but some of us have actually the ability to plan ahead of time. So, how did you make that decision that you were tired of working for someone else and you really wanted to do it all your own?
That's a great question, Red. Actually, I've experienced both spectrums where it was a decision that I made, and it was that, hey, we're going to be eliminating the role that you're performing for us. So I'll say that it initially it's a very scary feeling because you're kind of like, well, what am I going to do next? What has been beneficial for me is just that I'm a planner, so I kind of plan ahead. Most people are familiar with the term an emergency fund, and you just make sure you have something for a rainy day. But at the end of the day, very spiritually grounded. So it's something that I've been praying about, that I just really wanted to be able to have the freedom to do the things that I want to do when I want to do them, and not worry about things that are very common, especially when you work for public companies and when there's numbers that need to be made. And sadly, the number one go-to for these companies is if we're not making our numbers, then we need to reduce some of our costs, and typically that's people. For me, I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I've had many businesses that I've actually started, and I always look at those particular businesses. And as you can imagine, I'm not in those. I've had travel agencies. I've done consulting. Was a sports agent for a short period of time. But I look at each one of them as a lesson learned. So how do I make things better in my next venture? So right now, with the companies that I have that I'm running as an entrepreneur, I've taken all of those lessons learned and just moved forward with those.
It's interesting in our technology today with AI. I was on a webinar the other day, networking one, and one of the guys is talking about the company that he was working for. They have several competitors, business downturn, inflation, all the rest of all those things happening, and they had an AI system that they were using, and the question they posed to it was, here are our competitors, here's all the products, here's what we do. With the business turndown, what can we do that our competitors aren't doing that we can stay in business? Essentially, that was and they said, boom, 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 boom. And they started doing some of those things. They didn't lay off anybody when their competitors were actually laying people off.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a case of being smart in what was there and using a technology to help you do something. And so we're going to talk about AI later on. I'm sure you know how to spell it, so it's not a problem. But but you mentioned something that was quite critical. It's the fact that sometimes we start things and they don't always succeed like we want.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a passion at the time. And whether it was travel or who knows what, that's what I want to do. But sometimes it's not the right place, the right time, the right support, even the right city to be in. But tell us a little bit about how do you actually make some of those evaluations? Okay, I love travel, that's what I want to do. But is that really and truly the best thing for you to do? So tell us about how you brainstorm a little bit of this stuff.
So great question. For me, the brainstorming part comes in, and it's not, and to your point, it's really not truly 100% trial and error. So you want to do your research. I think one of the great things now and we'll talk about it later, is with AI. AI does a real good job of giving you some at a high level analysis of the market. So if there's things that you have a passion for and you're thinking about doing, that's a great starting point to, like, what are the competitors? What is some foresight? What are the things that I should be doing and I shouldn't be doing? Which I didn't have, 20, 30 years ago. So it was more researching, going to different websites, having an understanding of who your competitors may be. And there was a lot of heavy lifting, a lot of research, a lot of time, what I call data mining, and finding that information, which, with the advent of all of the different AI tools, a lot of that stuff is fast tracked for you. But for me, it's just always, you have to have a mindset that I'm going to get back on the horse. It doesn't matter how many times I'm going to fall off the horse. I'm going to get back on the horse. But then again, sometimes that's not where you're destined to be, right? You might say, for example, when I had a travel agency, that's when traveling was very prevalent. But at the time, I got in on the back end. So if you're not in at the beginning of the wave, then typically you might be getting on the boat a little late, and that's perfectly fine. Just go in and understand that. And again, let's make sure we're capturing our lessons learned as we go into the next business. So the next business, not to get in on the back end of the wave, but get in at the front of the wave.
Well, two things. Number one, I have to compliment you on your haircut. One of the more outstanding ones that I see periodically.
Thank you, Red.
Second one, lessons learned. That's something that from the military that I'm used to. Every time you have an exercise, you have to have a series of written lessons learned, so that people can go back last year, 10 years ago. What did they do right? What did they do wrong? But I think we as entrepreneurs, sometimes we don't bother to write anything down. We try to keep everything here. And you mentioned the wave, the beginning and the end. Sometimes we can't see it, but 2 years after the fact, maybe I need to go back and write a little note that the end of the wave occurred very rapidly and I didn't see it because of whatever. And so that's a factor in the next decision that you make, is that was a good lesson learned. It just learned after the fact.
Absolutely.
And so just because you have lessons learned doesn't mean they can't be updated.
That's right.
So you know how to spell IT. Tell us a little bit about that, because you've written more than one book on that. I think almost a dozen books in that area, right?
That's correct. So been in IT all my life. I started out when Commodore 64s came out. Everyone else had game systems, and I was that guy, the Commodore 64 guy. So in my career, 30 plus years in IT, I started out as a subject matter expert, Unix, networking, and then just kind of made my way up that ladder. And when I say the ladder, it's you're a subject matter expert, and then you start getting into, well, how do all these components play together as an engineer, and then you start becoming more of a leader. So you're leading groups and you're managing clients. And I've been on the inside where I'm providing services to clients, and I've been on the outside as an account executive where I'm subscribing to these services and making sure that I understand what the client's needs and mirroring and mapping services that will help them achieve their business goals as well. So a lot of experience in doing it. I like to tell people I probably know where a lot of the skeletons are buried historically on what we were doing and why we were doing it, whether it made sense or not. But I've always had a passion for it. Anything technical. I just love those things, which is probably why one of my favorite genres in movies is sci-fi. All of those things interest me.
Yeah, I can remember my first computer was a Tandy. And you had to put in the diskette, let it do its thing. You pull it out, put another one in.
Absolutely.
And that was the game you played back then. And they had DBase 2 and then DBase 3 came out. And I got really proficient at that one. I enjoyed that. In fact, my dad would call me at 3:00 in the morning. How do you do this? Okay. And so he's whatever. And And then DBA 4 came, and my goodness, just things changed too much for me. But again, the technology changes fast, and the reason I brought that particular mindset was that the faster things change, you have to be able to adjust with it. And we see a lot of companies, they bring in a software system, SAP or something like that,
Yeah.
and they don't really spend the time on training their people. And so now that ends up, I got to hire trainers, or I got to send people to training. It seems like the training is always one of the last things, or not even thought of sometimes. Um, what's your perspective on being able to help a company with the knowledge that's required to use the technology they have today?
Okay, great question. I have a couple of different angles that I address that, and I think the number one thing that I like to bring up to companies, and when they're having something new product or new way to things, the number one challenge is really adoption, right? Bringing in the technology, and you can bring in your consultants and bringing in the vendors, and yes, they can implement it and it'll be up and running, but adoption is going to be very critical, because it doesn't do you any good to have the new greatest tool in your back pocket, but no one's using it, and typically no one uses it because they don't understand it. So adoption is one component. Another thing is, initially, before that decision is made on where we're going to move to, is making sure that everyone not only is aware of what we're doing, but try to get some type of buy-in. Make sure that you're taking in some of their input on what are the things that they are looking forward for this system to replace. And typically it's things that aren't working right. And if you can get their input to say, okay, this new system is going to fix all of those things, or fix most of those things, or some of those things that are a pain in your side, then that helps as well. And then training is just really, it's an annual thing in most companies. It's to me, it's pretty watered down, because what happens after years and years, it's the same training every year. You just got to have to do it every time to compliance. But one thing that I always learned about, even when I'm taking training courses, if you're not implementing the stuff that you learned in training, right? If it's not a part of your day-to-day job, right, then you're typically going to forget that, right? So it's got to be able to put a mechanism, is the things that I'm learning, whether it's persona-based training, and make sure that I'm putting that stuff to work in my day-to-day job. And then now it's not something that I need to remember. It's just what I do, because I do it daily.
Okay, and you've been very successful, but when you look at my area, engineering, we have good engineers, and then when I need a new leader, I generally pick the good engineer who may not have people talents at all, and then it's a not a hit or miss. It's a miss almost every single time.
Yeah.
And so you're in an IT business, technology, people interfaces, other engineering interfaces. It's a tough area to get as you say, the knowledge that you use every single day and make it effective for you to be more effective, but also to add value to your company. So as an individual worker bee, you have to not only learn the ins and outs of how to make the company more money, but how do you make yourself a better person down the road to take over new responsibilities? What do you recommend for people in that area?
That's a great question, Red. So I've always, in leadership positions, I've always and I distinguish between a leader and a manager. To me, those are two totally different individuals. But as a leader, you really have to understand those that you're leading, right? Because at the end, you got to understand what their goals are. Not everyone wants to be in leadership. Not everyone wants to be in those different type of roles. Some people want to be that, we typically call them principals or so forth, that they want to be that SME, the super SME, and that's what they want to do. Those are the people that are not good candidates that you say, well, you're my best engineer, I'm going to put you in a leadership position, because at the end of the day, that's not what they want to do. I think from a leadership standpoint, you want those people that have a real good, solid core understanding of the team or the product or the service that they're leading, right? But as a true leader, your job is really to make sure that you have everyone else that's in that room that's smarter than you, right? You're kind of regulating and making sure everything is moving forward. But you want those super smart people in the room with you because they are the experts, right? And your job is to remove roadblocks for them to make sure that they're successful, because if they're successful, you're going to be successful as their leader. So that's really my mindset on when it comes to the distinction between who should be the people that you select to be leaders versus, and again, they're either going to take two different paths. They're going to be super technical, or they actually want to be in those leadership type roles. And notice I didn't say manager roles, I said leadership roles.
Yeah, I have one word for that. Amen. The thing I learned, I was in company and they would train me to be a better supervisor, a better manager, a better budgeter, a better whatever the thing was at the time. I would get my training, and you're right, there would be annual things for that, and sometimes ad hoc things. But when I ended up on my own, I went to some training, 8 hours on a Saturday, and all of a sudden I realized that all the training I had done in my life in the military, I taught college for a while, so academia at companies, everything was to make the university, the military, or the company better. It was not to make me better per se, although some of the skills had to make me better, but it was to operate a particular piece of equipment or a group of people. But all of a sudden I realized that there is a wealth of knowledge out there for personal improvement in many areas, whether it happens to be in entrepreneurialism or other things. So you can be a worker, be in a company. YouTube has all sorts of free access to information that, okay, I want to become my own boss. All sorts of stuff is free and it's available, but most of us don't know it. I mean, I didn't know it, and I'd been working for decades, and all of a sudden, wow. And then, okay, and I started reading books and more, and I mean, it's just like trying to cram as much stuff as you can in a shorter period of time. And then you get a system overload, and you're like, okay, what really applies? So you have the technologies out there to help people become better individuals, better entrepreneurs, or whether you're a SME, a subject matter expert, a better expert. So how do you help, a friend comes to you and say, hey, Kevin, this is what I want to do. So you sit down, have a cup of coffee, and you say, what do you say?
So what I say is, I say this, and I say this to my 21-year-old son. What do you have passion for? What is your passion? Because you can make a career out of something that you're passionate for. You're probably not going to make a career out of something, I just do it because I need the paycheck, right? So my first question is, what do you have a passion for? And then after they articulate and share that information with me, then the next thing is, okay, so what have you done, right? So you have to, I really do believe people, you have to invest in themselves. So if you say you want to do something, you have to be able to say to me, these are the things that I've done. So now as I'm processing and I'm trying to help, as I'm trying to fill in the gaps. Okay, so if you've done A, B, and C, you haven't gotten to X, Y, and Z, but have you done anything in the middle? And so I'm trying to help fill in the middle, the middle of the sandwich for them, and saying, hey, you should try this, you should try this. And to your point, Red, with the technology that we have, and I remember, back in the day, I was a Google, everything I'm Googling everything. Even if I knew it, I wanted to Google it just to make sure to give me affirmation that I'm thinking in the right way. But now you have so many tools that'll help you fill in those gaps. And so I make sure that the person that I'm talking to, we're having coffee or whatever, are you aware of these different tools? And if you haven't, then you should try them. And to your point, there's a wealth of information out there that's free that you should take advantage of it, right? Make sure that you understand, make sure it's something that you truly want to do. Because sometimes people say, Kevin, I want to do this. And I'm like, do you really want to do that? What does that mean? Do you know what that really entails? And then after we have the conversation, they're like, oh, that's probably not what I want to do. I want to do a variation or a deviation of that. And I said, well, that's a specific role in itself. So you should focus your energies on that.
You had a very key point in your conversation, in your response there. Invest in yourself. And the invest in yourself is not necessarily money.
Yep.
It's time, more so than money. You don't want to just throw a lot of money at something without understanding it first. And so that investing in yourself is something that a lot of us, that throw money at it. And now you have overload and you're throwing money for more overload, as opposed to really soaking up what value can you suck out of there to actually make it work for you to bring dollars in the door. We're getting real close to a commercial break, about a minute and a half. When we come back, Kevin, I want to talk about publishing.
Okay.
It's another area of expertise you have, and I want to make sure we spend a little bit of time talking about that and bring up a couple of your books too. So after the break, that's the direction we're going in.
Okay.
What if many of the problems we associate with aging are not random? What if there are identifiable causes behind declining energy, chronic disease, and memory problems? We have been told that aging is simply something we must accept, that slowing down is normal, that growing older means growing weaker. But what if that's only part of the story? Why do some people remain active and engaged well into their later years? Why do others struggle with disease, fatigue, and declining health? What is happening beneath the surface? What processes drive aging? In Aging Sucks, researcher, educator, and author Red O'Loughlin explores what researchers have discovered about why we grow older. No medical degree required, no confusing jargon, just clear explanations of what researchers have discovered about the processes that influence aging. You cannot stop aging, but understanding its causes may help you make better decisions about your health, your future, and your quality of life. Because understanding comes before action. Action creates hope. Aging Sucks. End the guesswork. There is hope.
Brad O'Loughlin here. We're on the Wise Ones of the USA Global TV and Radio Network. My guest today is Kevin Lewis, and Kevin is an IT entrepreneur, and he also has a business in publishing. And Kevin, please join me back up here on stage.
Good to be back. Thanks, Rick.
And so you tried a lot of different things. You have a primary business in IT, but you also own a publishing company. How did that happen?
So the publishing company is something that I had passion for many years ago, and it was really just books, and it was more of you've experienced a lot in your life, and you might want to capture some of that, document some of that stuff. So my first book was really I was dabbing into one of my many entrepreneur opportunities. I was a sports agent for a short period of time. But what was unique for me is I wanted to be the sports agent, not just to make money off of my athletes, was really teach them how to manage their money and teach them the things that, they're real young athletes and you're giving them a whole bunch of money and give them some wisdom. And so that was my intent. So that was my very first book. So I wrote that book really to just, let's see if I can do it. And then once I wrote that book, many years later, I said, you know what, I've been doing IT for a very, very long time. There are many things that I've seen, many things that I've touched, and I just want to make sure that I'm capturing that information and ensuring it, not so much as a subject matter expert in every book, but just give people some guidance of it. This may be something that you're interested in, or a lot of things. So we're talking about AI. So I've got AI books. We've talked about, well, what is cloud computing and what's the new technology terms for data centers and so forth. So knowing that information, because I've experienced it, I was like, let me capture this stuff, but more focus on a guide standpoint to give people insight on what it truly means. And so from there, I went on a 2-year, I'm going to write these books. I've got a whole bunch of stuff in my head. And so for 2 years straight, I just started just writing books and producing books and self-published them.
Okay. So not only does the book give you some discipline in the writing, and the whole thing is there. However, I think the more important thing is you're in IT or you're in dog walking or what, doesn't matter, but you now have a book, you're a published author. That adds credibility instantly to whatever field you want to be in.
True.
And so you have, a life of experience. I mean, I've had this thing that, okay, I want to leave something for me. I have a great grandson, so I want to leave something for my great grandson. But I started thinking, I write all the time. I just finished a book last month. And, I wrote it in April and finished it and published it in July. And I'm getting ready to start another book probably before the end of August, published by Christmas. But my focus right here is the fact that you have technology. So maybe what I want to do is a series of 50 or 100 8 to 10, 12-minute videos on a
Hmm.
private YouTube channel for my brothers and sisters, for their kids, for my kids, great grandkids, etc. And so now I don't need to write it. I can get the same thing where I'm talking about. I remember the first time I went flying. It was one of those planes that the tail was down there and you had to walk up the ramp as you're going into the aircraft.
Yeah.
DC-3. And so you talk about things that don't exist today, that were part of your life way back when. And so maybe it's better for me to talk my book
Hmm.
than it is to write my book.
Hmm.
And that's also available today, regardless. It doesn't mean you have to write 350 pages just
Correct.
because that's expected. Maybe a 30-page ebook is really all you need to get started.
Correct.
So how do you help new authors?
So how I help new authors, and I've got most of them are past colleagues or friends and family that say, Keaton, we know you write books, or you've written a book, you're a published author. I have a book idea, and I'm interested in knowing what I need to do to publish it. So typically, what I'll explain to them the process that I went through. So I'm sharing my experiences, so that I'm speaking from a point of, this is not something I think you need to do. These are the steps you actually have to do. But the first and foremost is finish writing your book, right? You have to write the content. I said, don't even worry about it. I said, I'll help you with when you get the book to the point where you've got, maybe it's just in a Word document or Google, whatever form you use it in. So now we can start working on, well, what did you want the book cover to look like? What are the formatting, proofreading, and all of those different type of things. So I typically, for everyone that asks me about, hey, I need your help with publishing my book, I say, I can help you publish the book. That's the easy part. Let's just talk about making sure you have a product. And then once you have the product, we'll clean it up, polish it up. For me, all of my books I publish through Amazon. I have my own publishing company and I have my own publishing website. But if you purchase any of my books through there, it'll take you to Amazon. To me, that was a strategic decision, understanding that I have to pay Amazon to do that for me, but now I don't have to worry about inventory. There's a lot of different things. So that was a decision that I chose to make. But I think the most important part for everyone is finish the work, right? If you just, a lot of people, I have an idea, do it, write it down, document it. Don't even worry about the structure. Just take all of those thoughts and capture it. And you got tools now that you can talk to an app and it'll write it. You don't physically have to write it or type it and all that stuff. It'll translate your words directly into it. So take that time to do it. And from there, the next step is, let's do the things that we need to do to help you get it published.
Okay, so Red comes to Kevin and says, hey, I want to write a book on cake decorating.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, I don't know anything about cake decorating, but I know how to write a book. This is what you need to do. So boom, boom, boom. These are the things you must do.
Correct.
These other things are nice to do, but you don't have time for them right now.
That's right.
But because you have passion for cake decorating, start with what you're passionate about and get that written first.
Yeah.
That way, that gives you success.
Yeah.
So if my specialty is, frosting or certain kind of frosting, okay, that's what I want to talk. I don't have to start with the mix and all the rest of that stuff. Start with your passion first, write about that. The rest of it will fill itself in.
That's
There are
right.
many, many, many ways of doing that. But as a publishing company, we as writers, authors, have skill sets to write, not a skill set personally to edit per se,
Mm-hmm.
but we certainly don't have a skill set to market.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you help people with editing? How do you help people with marketing?
So the editing part, great question. So the editing part, I actually, and most people do it. I have third parties that I use that I trust that have edited, and then they do the things for my book. So you can either do it yourself, which is very time consuming, right? And I typically shy against and tell people you want somebody else to proofread your information because you're writing it. So you're going to be biased and you'll skip over things that it makes sense to you, but from an outside reader, they say, hey, yeah, that doesn't make sense. We want to change that. So I always recommend get a third party, people this is what they do. They're very good at it, to proofread it for you. They'll give you suggestions. And then it's still the same thing, Red. It's like, do you have the time to do it yourself? And if you don't, then you want to go with people that this is what they do and they do a great job. So I have a nice little Rolodex, and that's for those that's instead of what we use today, an old Rolodex that I keep that has these are my preferred partners for these different services. So I always tell them you have one way to do it if you want to do it yourself, but that is going to be a lot of time commitment. And if you don't want the time commitment, then you want to, what I call outsourcing. That's an IT term that you'll give that type of work to as well. Of course, if you go the outsourcing route, then there's a fee associated with it. So you kind of weigh time over money, which one that you want to do. But again, I've done it from end to end. I've done a couple of my books. I did everything in a couple of my books, depending, especially when my books get larger. It's like I don't have the time to go through that. And I also believe in, you eat your own, we always say eat your own dog food in IT, right? So I don't recommend companies that I haven't used myself or I wouldn't use myself.
I remember the first time I asked AI to edit a chapter. It's like 10 pages, wasn't long.
Mm-hmm.
And I got 2 paragraphs back. And I wasn't talking to the right person.
Yeah.
And so it's taken me about 2 years now to finally, and I'm talking about a lot of prompts, about a 2-3 page prompt to get adjusted, and then an occasional slap up the side of the head to say, that's not what I want. I still have a problem with my AI wanting to overprotect me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to constantly remind it, but I'm training it as we go along.
Yep.
And so I used it for brainstorming, a beautiful tool for brainstorming,
Mm-hmm.
but as it understands the way I write and what I'm trying to get out, like I said, don't protect me. I will make those decisions.
Yes.
I have to, if I want to put something out, it's what I put out. It's not what you're doing. But anyway, the gist is I used AI this last time for a lot of my editing.
Mm-hmm.
Grammarly is one that's a great source.
Yes, great.
However, and it also has about 10 or 12 different AI options in there. Since I write nonfiction, a lot of health and wellness, I want citations,
Mm-hmm.
but I also want them fact checked. So I go there and put that in. And it says, here's the source. Well, I hit the fact check. That's not a source.
Mm-hmm.
Just because that AI said it was a source doesn't mean this AI agrees.
Right.
And then I do a plagiarization check. And one thing that came back one day says, this Yoho named Red O'Laughlin wrote the same thing. And I'm thinking, okay, I thought that was interesting. That I'm plagiarizing against myself. But Grammarly is a great tool.
Yes.
But AI, depending on which one you're using, I use let's go into the marketing realm. We still have about 2-3 minutes left before we wrap up, but I do want to cover marketing real quick.
Yep.
When do you start marketing a person's book?
Honestly, you can start marketing before the book is even published. Actually, I definitely recommend to kind of get a feel. And the reason why I recommend it is to start getting a feel of what resonates with people. And typically the things that we start marketing early is the look, the feel, like what does the book cover? And I do this for friends that write books. They'll say, hey, Kevin, I'm gonna send you 4 book covers. You tell me which one resonates more with you. So there's the cosmetic part that you want to market. That's one aspect of once I have my book out there, what is going to appeal to people to actually want to go and at least open up the first page of the book, so to speak. And then really, is this a topic that's going to resonate with people? But it really depends also when you say, is this a topic that's going to resonate with people? Are you writing the book just because I just want to write the book and have my book out there? Or are you writing the book as I want a bunch of people to buy my book, right? Those are 2 different marketing aspects. And I tell people all the time, and I experience in every company that I've had, marketing is not cheap, right? It's very expensive. I think with the advent of a lot of different new AI tools, and I see a new one, it seems like every week, that does sales and does marketing for you. And that's another story that I can tell at a later date. But I would say at the end of the day, start marketing when you know that this is something that you're going to do. Start marketing from different aspects of just get a feel of this is content that's going to resonate. Start thinking about your book covers and so forth like that, and asking people what resonates with them, because that actually does matter. You could have a great book, but aesthetically it just doesn't look right. People are not going to even give it the time of day.
Yeah, you hit on several very key points there, and I appreciate that. I use AI to design my books now, but I use Fiverr when I need to actually have the entire PDF done. But AI does a pretty good job if you tell it what it needs to know, and that's part of the problem.
Correct.
And so when you have that now, are you familiar with Gemini Notebook?
I am.
I use that a lot for my own creating short videos, 60 seconds or less. And that's a great marketing tool for free.
Hmm.
But we're getting to that point in time in the show where I need to say, Kevin, how do people get in touch with you? How do they buy your books?
So the easiest way, I would say there's several ways. The easiest way is just to go to my publishing website. It's sandiverpublishing.com. All of my books are there. All of my current books, all of my future books. That would be the best way to reach me as far as what are the books that I have out there. Of course, you could go to Amazon. I use a pen name called LD Knowings. So if you went to Amazon and typed in LD Knowings, it'll also bring up all of my books.
Okay. So for our audio audience that will be joining us later on this afternoon, this is a live show. Sandiver Publishing, Sandiver, Sandiver Publishing, PUBLISHING.com. And your pen name again,
LD Knowings.
KNOWINGS.
That is correct.
LD Knowings. So you're no longer a Kevin, you're an LD. Okay, so we got that one down. Kevin, I really truly appreciate your time today. I enjoyed it. I look forward to bumping into you in real life or down the road digitally.
Absolutely.
So had a really good time. So thank you so very much.
Thanks for having me, Red. Thanks, everyone.
We'll take care of you later on. Okay, this is my last show today. It's the third of 3 in a row, back to back to back. When I'm not doing TV shows, I research the human body at the cellular level, chemically speaking. I look for cause and effect relationships. Treat a cause, fix a problem. Treat symptoms, and you'll always be treating symptoms. So I write about it. I speak about it. I help other authors get their books written. I'm a book coach. I also publish over 50 books for other people as a publisher, speaker. I do a lot of different things. But my latest book, Aging Sucks, it's a simple book. It basically helps you understand the causes of aging to make better decisions. Yeah, that's as simple as I can put it. If you're watching the show today on YouTube, and I hope you are, there are many, many places to watch it. But if you're not a subscriber, please seriously consider going to USA Global TV and Radio and Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck and subscribing. We really and truly appreciate it. So have fun, enjoy, be safe, and don't let anybody steal your joy. Bye now.
What if many of the problems we associate with aging are not random? What if there are identifiable causes behind declining energy, chronic disease, and memory problems? We have been told that aging is simply something we must accept, that slowing down is normal, that growing older means growing weaker. But what if that's only part of the story? Why do some people remain active and engaged well into their later years? Why do others struggle with disease, fatigue, and declining health? What is happening beneath the surface? What processes drive aging? In Aging Sucks, researcher, educator, and author Red O'Loughlin explores what researchers have discovered about why we grow older. No medical degree required, no confusing jargon, just clear explanations of what researchers have discovered about the processes that influence aging. You cannot stop aging, but understanding its causes may help you make better decisions about your health, your future, and your quality of life. Because understanding comes before action. Action creates hope. Aging sucks. End the guesswork. There is hope. Every day, we wake up knowing what we should do. We know we should take better care of ourselves. We know we should have the difficult conversation. We know we should stop making excuses. We know we should invest in our future. We also know we should take the first step. So why don't we? It's not because we aren't smart enough. It's not because we don't have enough information. And it's certainly not because we don't care. We live in a world overflowing with knowledge. Books, podcasts, videos, courses, experts, even artificial intelligence. We have more access to information than any generation before us. Yet so many of us are still waiting for the right time, waiting to feel ready, waiting until tomorrow. But tomorrow becomes next week becomes next year, and before you know it, another opportunity has passed us by. The truth is, knowing has never been the finish line. It's only the starting line. Our lives don't change because we know more. Our businesses don't grow because we know more. Our relationships don't improve because we know more. And our health doesn't transform because we know more. Everything changes when we act. When we choose courage over comfort, progress over perfection, action over intention. The question isn't, what else do we need to know? The question is, what are we going to do with what we already know? Stop. Why Knowing Isn't Enough by Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Because knowing opens the door. Action changes your life. Available September 2026.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.